And I will start by saying good morning. As we're getting our YouTube set up, it is lovely to see you all here this morning. I'm going to mute the YouTube so that you do not hear the feedback of the YouTube. So good to see you all this morning. I hope you're all having a good week. I think I know everybody here, but for those of us who are joining us on YouTube, I'm Reverend Carol Badeau, privileged to serve Westside Unitarian Universalist Church as minister. And this morning, we are celebrating National Coming Out Day. So a few announcements. We have a couple of more outdoor services on alternate weeks. Next week, we will be outside at 10 a.m. and our service will be the Harmonious Harvest, and it's going to be all music. And then the following week, the service will again be on Zoom. That one will be about bearing witness and will be about how to hold presence in the face of the upcoming election. And then on November 1st, that will be our last outdoor service. And it's going to be an All Souls Samhain service again at 10. So also we currently are running our Building Your Own Theology Thursday evening adult religious exploration class. You can always join in on that. And then starting in November, we will have a 3-session adult religious exploration class about the book Indigenous Peoples' History of the U.S. So those are the things that are happening. Today we are celebrating National Coming Out Day, and we are also our Share the Plate partner. For those of you who might like to make a donation, we are through the end of this year supporting Positively Living, which is an organization that supports people living with HIV and AIDS in the Knoxville area. And on December 6th, someone from Positively Living is actually going to be helping lead this service. So we'll be actually hearing from Positively Living and hearing about what they do and who they are. So we're looking forward to that. So I hope you all can make it for that. So this morning, it's about being present with our authentic selves. So as I invite our bowl to sound, I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath. And maybe this morning we can reflect on times when we have found it difficult to be authentic, when we have found that it took courage to actually be honest about who we are, when we found that there was injustice or oppression or judgment or criticism or condemnation of who we are and what was true for us. So let's take a moment and just remember those moments, give ourselves some credit for having come through those moments, for having the courage to be true to ourselves when we can, and also for having the courage to support others trying to do that as well. So I'm going to invite the bowl to sound and call us into this time. All right, and this morning, Kayla Ringelspaugh is going to be our speaker this morning, and she's going to be starting us with our chalice lighting.
So this is a poem from Gerald G. Jampolsky, MD. As a child, I was told and believed that there was treasure buried beneath every rainbow. I believed it so much that I have unsuccessfully been chasing rainbows most of my life. I wonder why no one ever told me that the rainbow and the treasure were both within me. All right, so we will get started. Give me just a second to pull up my stuff here. Okay, as Carol said, my name is Kayla Ringelspaugh. I use she, her pronouns. I hope everybody's having a good morning. I just want us to take a moment and close our eyes. Imagine that for one reason or another, there's no more light in the world. It's completely dark. We have no electricity. The sun gives off no light. For the sake of imagination, we'll say that life continues. We get heat and photosynthesis and all that fun stuff. There's just no light, or world of darkness. How would we get around? How could we perceive the world around us? We would probably move slowly, cautiously, step gingerly to make sure our immediate surroundings are safe. Perhaps we pay more attention to the sounds around us. What are people saying? Does it indicate that I'm safe here, or do I need to be more careful in my movements? How does the scenario change if we are dropped in the middle of a forest with hungry wolves versus perhaps in a group of friends in an open field? You can open your eyes when you're ready. It feels like that land of darkness can be a terrifying place to navigate. For me, it is pretty consistent with my experiences before coming out as bisexual back in 2016. I was afraid that if my sexual orientation was known, it would be like moving carelessly in the forest of wolves. I feared the judgment, the disappointment, and most of all, the possibility of losing my family because of who I was. My bisexuality had been a part of my identity that I had hidden for nearly a decade at that point, maybe even longer. Growing up in a traditional Southern Baptist household, I feared that if I spoke up about my sexuality, I'd be told not to come home again, or told I was going to burn for an eternity in hell. Oddly enough, both of those fears manifested, but for other reasons. I did what many people in my position have done. You hide it. Shove it in the back of the closet of your mind and hope you say all the right things so you blend in. Move carefully through the forest in the hopes that you don't attract the eyes of the wolves. For me, it meant not showing even platonic affection for my female friends, being careful to not let my eyes linger too long at the TV if a swimsuit ad was on. I remember changing the lyrics of Katy Perry's I Kissed a Girl to I Kissed a Boy, so it was hopefully more appropriate enough to get away with singing along to in the car. Anything that could possibly out me, reveal my secret, was like hearing a twig snap in the wolf-infested forests, and I couldn't see the way to safety. I want to take a little educational detour here. Today, October 11th, is National Coming Out Day. According to the Human Rights Campaign, this holiday was first celebrated to mark the anniversary of the March on Washington for Lesbian and Gay Rights that took place on October 11th, 1987. This was the second march, with the first being held just 8 years prior on October 14th, 1979. This was the first nationwide movement and the first to display the size of the LGBTQ+ community. Since then, National Coming Out Day has been held to celebrate the community as a whole, and for a portion of us, is used as the day of courage to finally come out to their friends and family. When I came out of the closet in 2016, I did it through a Facebook post. I hoped that it would be like ripping the Band-Aid off, and maybe I wouldn't have to deal with the fallout from my mother. I was already living on my own and married to my husband, Brian. Yet I was still scared of the potential of losing my relationship with my family. I'm far from the only one with this experience. Studies show that most people in the LGBTQ+ community know that they are not straight when they're teenagers, but they don't tell anyone for an approximately average of 3 years. According to the Pew Research Center, approximately 3/4 of those who identify as lesbian or gay have come out of the closet to those closest to them, while only 28% of bisexuals ever disclose their sexual orientation. Some research suggests that the wait is because we recognize that this disclosure is a turning point in our relationship. We recognize that things will never be the same once we step out of that closet door. Many of those in the LGBTQ+ community face a variety of discrimination. 58% of those interviewed by the Pew Research Center say they have been subject to slurs or jokes. 39% of people have been rejected by friends or family members, and 30% of those surveyed have been physically attacked or threatened. Coming out of the closet is revealing the most vulnerable pieces of ourselves, the pieces that we are afraid will cause rejection and ostracization, if not outright harm. When we do come out, we are hoping that the friends in the field aren't secretly wolves in disguise. It takes time to ensure that those around us aren't harboring dangerous thoughts, or if they do present danger, we ensure that we have a safety net in place. The social justice movements that have secured marriage equality for the LGBTQ plus community and anti-discrimination laws have helped ease the darkness. We can now see a little easier the way around the world. To continue the analogy of a world shrouded in darkness, these winds are like stars to light the path. We don't have the strength of the full sun. There's still rampant discrimination and hate crimes. But perhaps we can see the path a little clearer and spot the dangers a little easier. Some days the stars seem brighter than others. I think the key to this, the metaphorical return of the light, comes in the form of kindness and compassion, and understanding that we are all traversing this terrain together. Some of us may have fewer obstacles in our way, or better night vision. Some of us may be surrounded by unseen dangers, afraid to give away our location to any societal pitfalls or disparagements. I believe, however, that we can find the light in this world of darkness through the kindness and compassion we show each other. A friendly smile, a sympathetic gesture, or words of encouragement can be the spark that we need to find our way to a community, a gathering of light bearers. Perhaps, like in the words of our chalice lighting, we can find that the rainbows, or in this case, the light to guide us, has been in ourselves all along, because that is what I think coming out really is. In embracing our sexual orientations, despite what society may think or say, we are embracing our true inner selves. We are living our true, authentic selves in the best ways we know how. As we enter the winter months, the time marked by longer periods of darkness, I encourage you to explore this notion of authenticity, of finding your inner light or your inner rainbow. Take time to reflect on what brings you joy and brightens your world. And then take it one step further. How can you be your best authentic self to shine light on others' paths? The world might seem dark and scary these days, and it's up to us to keep the candle of hope lit through the night. Thank you all.
Thank you, Kayla. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate that. You know, probably most of you know, certainly people who've been at Westside very much know that we are what's called a welcoming congregation. And that means that we actively educate ourselves and actively speak in the world to support the LGBTQ plus community. And that changes over time. Westside received its welcoming congregation status a long time ago, but things change. And so this continuing to be a light in the darkness, continuing to support people, continuing to welcome people who are identifying their authenticity, that's something that's ongoing work. So some of you may know that we have a team of people called the Welcoming Congregation Renewal Team to keep us up to speed and active. So actually we have some people on this call who are on that team. Ellen, raise your hand. Ellen and Barry are on that team. So the Unitarian Universalist Association has said recently, you know, it's not enough to just sit on our laurels and say, yeah, we support lesbians and gays. Yep, we do that. But that we have to actively continue to learn and grow and educate ourselves. So they ask us now to renew that status once a year. And so this team of people has been working on doing that. And that includes having services like this one where we talk about it. During coffee hour today, we're going to be talking a little bit about the coming out process and how that feels to different people. Maybe we've had family members that have come out, or maybe we ourselves have come out, and what that's like and how challenging that can be in our world. We also have the opportunity to continue to educate ourselves. So some of us on the team tomorrow night will actually be previewing the first video in a 5-video series that we're going to be bringing to Westside later, probably in the late winter, spring of next year. That's about how to be more welcoming to trans people, because that really is a new area where people are having to learn and grow as Unitarian Universalists in being welcoming. As Kayla said, she gave her pronouns at the beginning, and I always forget to give my pronouns. That's one of those things that I forget to do. I use she, her pronouns. learning how to use our pronouns, because gender identity and sexual orientation are things that we need to be thinking about. There are lots of things we need to be thinking about. So I invite you to think about where you might need to learn and grow. As Westside continues to learn and grow, and as our team continues to provide educational opportunities, and we continue to challenge ourselves, where are the places you need to make the world brighter for people who feel like they are still in the darkness? Who are the people in your life who might be feeling the darkness around them? Maybe it's someone who is lesbian or gay or bisexual. Maybe it's someone whose gender is not as solid as you might think it is. Maybe it's someone who is wanting to transition in their gender expression. Who are the people in your life, or maybe in your home or in yourself, who are feeling darkness? And how can we together as a community make that path more bright? What are the things that we can do? How can we be more welcoming, more receptive, more open, more compassionate, and more well-educated so that we can be a truly welcoming community? So I have a reading for us. This is from Marianne Williamson. She says this: "We don't have to do anything to be glorious. To be so is our nature. If we have read or studied or loved, if we've thought deeply or felt deeply, if our bodies are instruments of love given or received, then we are the greatest blessing in the world. Nothing needs to be added to that to establish our worth." Unitarian Universalism's first principle is the inherent worth and dignity of all people. And that means that we, in order to live that, have to truly honor people as they wish to be known. So let us be people who are doing that. And let us be challenging ourselves to know people even more fully, to be even more conscious, and to be even more light in a world that has a tendency to sometimes feel awfully dark. So we're going to be going into coffee hour in just a minute here, and I'm going to invite us to share about that. But I'm going to ask Wendy, we're not going to extinguish the chalice. We'll keep it lit for coffee hour. But remember that if you are not participating in coffee hour, or if you're one of our visitors on our YouTube live stream, this is a place where we keep the light of truth, the fire of commitment, and the warmth of community always burning. And we welcome you to participate in that and to join us in being a source of light in a world that can sometimes feel dark. So I'm going to turn off our live stream, and I'm going to invite us to share a little bit about how, just our thoughts about the service, and also how we're doing today. So